Oh, yes, that's right. It is Thursday. It is 9, so it's UK Cowboys time. How we doing, the guys?
Yeah, doing good. I'm obviously here to keep you two apart after Tuesday night, obviously.
Well, I was busy on other duties that night, so... but
Oh,
trust me, those duties, I would have rather have been watching football or talking Cowboys.
no, do you know what? To be fair though, I was pretty quiet to do with it. I think the only one I'd give stick to is Brian. That's because they didn't qualify.
Yeah.
Can't do
But
the body
Brian,
clock, can they?
yeah, but just Brian will be with us soon. He's all good. Just in case anyone's wondering, it's all fine. But on that note, I just want to say,
I bet he's back Tuesday.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get to that at the end of the show. So make sure you listen in about what's happening on Tuesday. But I will say this for the audio listeners as well from the podcast, as well as the people who follow our social media, you guys are the best. I mean, like at the moment, really good following. People are interacting very deliciously over the past few weeks. So thank you very much to all of you. You are the best. As we say, the loyal Yukis is what we go for. But yes, here we are. It is episode 238 into season 4. We are here for the pre-game show for the Colts, which is this weekend. Kickoff. If you live in abroad in Europe or in the UK, for guys like Joe, it's even worse. Kickoff in the UK is 1:20 a.m. on Monday morning. So we're back to the grind, guys.
Yep. And then obviously next week as well, we've got the Thursday night game as well, don't we? So it's two late nights within the space of 7 days. That's
Yeah. I know over in America they complain about, oh, we've got 3 games in 12 days and all this. It's like, yeah, okay, but do you know what it's like to watch a game at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday? That's what we've got to deal with. It's hard. It's a hard life. It's a hard life.
Yep.
But here we go then, guys. Before we hit the news and notes, I do this every week. And everybody at home, remember, you are the most important people on this show. Let us know your thoughts as well. But what are your guys' initial thoughts on this weekend's game? Thank you very much, Steve.
I don't think the Colts record really reflects. I don't think it reflects the quality of a football team there. In some aspects, it reminds me of the Cowboys probably from last year.
Yep.
Decent QB, got one of the best running backs in the league. They've got a decent wide receiver core, fairly decent O-line, fairly decent defense. I just think that it's one of them years, isn't it? I think it's just kind of transitions that.
We lost you there, Jay.
This could be the banana skin this weekend. Not that I'm going to back us to lose because I made that mistake against the Vikings the other week, but I think this one has the potential because a lot of people won't take the Colts seriously.
All right, Lord.
Yeah, I mean, I think as Jamie says, they've got the talent there, or theoretically they've got the talent there. Matt Ryan has shown that he can still, sling it. They just don't seem to. Something has happened that they just haven't been able to gel this year. I think a lot of people pre-season, a lot of people were actually tipping the Colts to, having Matt Ryan would be the missing piece, and for knocking Tennessee off the top of the division. It's just not happened, and obviously they're on a new coach, and Jeff Saturday, he was one play away from beating the Eagles. He was one drive away from beating the Steelers as well, but for some reason, his game management skills weren't exceptional this week. So
yeah,
I think it's either going to be a blowout or it's going to be one of those really close, nail biters right at 5 o'clock in the morning. We're still sitting there going, oh God,
Yeah.
Do you know one of the saving graces you sort of probably of it? There is UK family in the house in Big D, which always is a good omen when anybody from this side of the pond goes, or the Cowboys rarely lose. So
No,
we can
unless it's
bank on-
Paul.
Unless it's Paul.
Yeah, I forgot. He's a bit of a Jonah, really.
Paul was 1-2 last year, and the one win was against New Orleans. So
Yeah.
but he didn't have the flag last year, did he?
No, he did not, and he doesn't have it again.
Oh.
Got it. Do you know? I knew there was
That's your
something I was
fault,
supposed to do. He's got to remind me. I've got so much going on. I've got so many things to do. I never remember.
Do you know what, though? The worst thing is, you've got it over your shoulder.
I know. I stare at it literally every day. In fact, it gets stuck on my arm sometimes. I'll be typing away. But yes, so let's get on to the news and notes, guys, because we're going to have to crack through this one. And then we will get on to the other side of the show, looking at the offense and defense. So let's go to news and updates. Okie dokie. So first thing is Terrence Steele, as Lorne told me just before the show, he's out at the moment with the dreaded illness that's floating around. So is Diggs and Gallup. So they're basically trying to shorten this bug that's floating around at the moment over there. So they're trying to keep that down. Anthony Barr was back in training, which is good to see. Tank he was limited with a foot. But the big news this week was obviously Terrell Basham got waived, so he's done. But they have activated James Washington's 21-day window, which I find quite interesting at this stage of the season. For me, more than anything, when you think that they're doing it now, says to me he's healthy and ready to play. But they just want to see what they've got, because there's nothing to say at the end of the 21-day window that he's got a roster spot. They could just be like, right, let's see what we've got with him. Let's work with him. Let's see where we're going. Can he play? Can he take a roster spot? If they don't have to add him. And then obviously he goes to season-ending IR. But what do you guys make of all of that? As well as Tyron Smith as well.
Yeah, it's interesting timing. I mean, obviously, we've created a space on the roster. Talk is that's maybe going to be Tack McKinley being brought up.
I think they'll keep him on the practice squad, personally.
Well, because you've got to actually bring somebody up. You can't have 52 players. You've got to have 53 players actually on. So somebody's got to be brought up by game day. The whole timing of James Washington. I mean, James Washington, I think, was talking to Patrick Walker a couple of weeks ago and said, "Yeah, I'm 100% healthy. The guys just haven't started my time clock."
Yeah.
And obviously, you were putting the 2 and 2 together and thinking, well, maybe it's they're waiting to see if they're going to be in the market for Odell Beckham Jr. But I mean, I think this is a good time if you get something from Washington and he looks like he's good to go, bring him up, and you can always not so much develop an injury for Tolbert, but you could maybe find a way of stashing him. And then you've got an extra weapon for your offense, because this is what we certainly are looking for, an extra weapon. So
yeah, definitely. And it's all what do they call it, roster gymnastics and all the rest of it. That's basically what they're doing right now, because Tyron Smith is looking very likely to be coming back soon. They're saying he's getting ready to do his thing. Mike McCarthy has talked about how he's in the building constantly and all the rest of it. The only other news is on this, though, is that it is championship week in college football. So all the championship games are going on. So I'm very excited. And as well, just a little added bonus for you guys, the College Football Playoff Committee, funnily enough, from what me and you were talking about this morning, Jamie, they are moving to a 12-team playoff in 2024.
The only thing that sucks about that is that means that Bama and Ohio State pretty much guaranteed to be in the playoffs every year. But flicking back to obviously you say the championships, I'm leaning with you. I think LSU might cause an upset this week.
Ooh, controversial.
Throw it out there.
I don't know. They lost to Texas A&M, mate. So I don't know. They seem to be they're riding off what they did in the middle of the season at the moment.
You had to get some A&M in there, didn't you?
Well, I mean, I've got to be honest with you, mate. They have not had a good season. I know his injuries, but still, not been good. But there we go. That's the life we live. Man. All right. Should we get into the Cowboys offense versus the defense? Let's hit this. Okie dokie. All right, let's start off, guys, with I thought we would start off with the tight end group. Because last week, the last few weeks, in fact, but last week was very prominent in what they were doing. Is there a better tight end room? So I'm not saying best tight end, because we know there's the big names, Mark Andrews, Kelsey, Kittle. But is there a better tight end room, a collection of tight ends on an NFL team better than Dallas?
I'd have to say no. I mean, you're not, most teams have got one, maybe two tight ends that they use regularly, and then tight end number 3 is there for injury and special being the wing on special teams, or maybe even long snapper or whatever. But I mean, we are getting production out of all 4 of our guys, and I mean on that the Peyton Hendershot's touchdown run, all 4 were on the field at the one time. There was no wide receivers on. It was 1 running back and 4 tight ends. And these guys are actually infusing a little bit of lifeblood into this team as well. I mean,
a little bit, yeah.
We're as these guys go, we're getting the development out of them, we're getting the production out of them, and they're helping spur this offense on. So,
can I rephrase the question a little bit and say it's probably the most underrated position, tight end group in the league, just for what they've done. Could you go as far as outside shots for rookies of the year for the two tight ends?
Ooh.
Who knows? I think it probably, with how well they're playing, this whole thing about James Washington now. You'll see the point. Like I say, because the Cowboys have made it abundantly obvious that they're in from Odell Beckham. So what's the point bringing him up when you're getting production out of the Titans? Because then you're essentially bringing in an all-pro wide receiver. I think keep them as they are and keep getting them the ball, let them get in there and block as well as they have, and let's not bring everybody else into the mix that doesn't need to be in the mix, and keep them going, keep them running as we are.
Yeah, I mean, because the question was put to us this week about Odell Beckham Jr. And one of my answers is, look, getting Odell in, I think, isn't a bad thing. Maybe it's better for next year than it is this year. But bringing him in this year, would that upset the apple cart in terms of what they've got from the tight end group? Because they are balling out right now. And what's good is that you can see it, is defenses are struggling to defend the 12 and 13 man personnel the Cowboys put out with those tight ends. because it gives you so many options, helps with the run. And these guys as well, you never know which one is going to be the go-to guy or is going to be the check down. It's just impossible to try. I've always said before that at the moment, the tight end position is one of the lost positions on defense. They're like, that's your natural mismatch at the moment. And the Cowboys just so happen to have 4 if you include McEwen as well. But you've got guys that can be that natural mismatch on the field. And I get what people are saying with Odell, because it's not that we need him. There are teams that need a guy like Odell Beckham, but what the Cowboys want is exactly that. They want Odell. They don't necessarily need him. Like, if we didn't have him and we get outbid, the Cowboys are going to get on completely fine this season without him. It's more the next year's part of it that I'm concerned about. But we mentioned it. Go on. Did somebody say something?
No. All I was going to say is that when you get to kind of this time of the year, your roster's pretty set in it, like wide receiver 1 to wide receiver 3 in that aspect, and you're bringing in guys to make an impact here, there, and everywhere in a little way. I think, as much as we used to not like him to play for the Giants, I think Odell is a lot more dangerous than we already are. Just for the fact that you're going to get a little bit more production at the wide receiver position, just because of how dynamic he is. It's going to open CD Lamb up a little bit more, because then you've also got to concentrate on Beckham on the other side.
Yeah.
And then also it plays into how well as running backs are as well, just for the fact that I think I'm thinking a bit more, and I know kind of Paul didn't like the potential pick, but like it's that kind of Kyle Pitts thing in it that it confused. If the Cowboys would have been able to pick up Kyle Pitts in the draft, it opens that offense up a lot more, because they won't know how to defend it, because you've got a great receiver on the outside, you've got 2 good running backs, adding a tight end like that, but then you also adding a speedster like Beckham. It's going to cause. It's probably going to be more headaches for the other team, and it's going to be probably in our dressing room.
Yeah.
Or locker room, however you want to say it.
I think the more weapons you've got, I mean, you're guarding yourself against any injuries that you pick up at a certain position. If we put all our eggs into one basket and say, right, we're going with 12, 13 personnel all the time, and then unfortunately, the injury bug hits Schultz again, or Ferguson goes down. I mean, Ferguson's been injured, or certainly been slow to get up a couple of plays as well. If you lose a piece like that, then do these guys stay together, and do they become? Are they going to be as effective? And then there will be some defenses that we'll face. I mean, I think at some point this year we're going to end up facing the 49ers again.
Yeah.
They've got a defense that could probably control us, as a 12, 13 personnel sort of thing. And that's maybe where you do want somebody like Beckham who can make, is a dirty ball catcher. If Dak's sort of thrown it over his head, he can go up and go and get it.
Yeah, there's 50-50 balls.
No matter where it is. So just having the more weapons you have, the better. But yeah, I mean, it's all dependent on how much are we going to pay for this.
Yeah,
and it should have elevated the rest of that wide receiver room, and not to kind of knock on them really, but if you look outside of CD Lamb, who's really got any decent yardage throughout the whole season. So if you look at it outside of CD Lamb, it's essentially going to be wide receiver 2, and if you bring him in, you're not going to bring him in to target him 2 or 3 times a game. You're going to put a hefty workload on him. That's it. Just as DJ Dog said. Is the completely cleared up and is 100% to go? Because if you're bringing him in this late in the season, you want him on the roster. You don't want him 3 or 4 weeks on the sideline hoping to get him involved in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, that will be the case, mind. I mean, like, even if you do it now, you think he hasn't taken a snap in a year, double ACL injury, age, playbook. There's a lot to go through there. Like, that's a good month's worth of work. And then you just wonder, do you want to put all that trust then on that type of player going into a postseason? Like, there's no chemistry with Dak either. Like, they don't know each other at all.
Yeah, I think that's why, obviously, Dak said what he said in the post game comments last week, that when he was told that Jerry had a conversation with OBJ on the phone and all that, that was like, well, OBJ knows that I'd like to have him here, but at the moment I've just got to focus on what we do have. Because there's in recent days there's been more and more talk about the Bills being involved in this, maybe the Chiefs as well, the Giants, obviously. So there is no guarantee that we're not going to get outbid by one of these guys. Certainly OBJ would love to play for the Cowboys because he's got a hometown connection here, or home state connection anyway. So there is that, but are we going to be able to afford them if you get into a bidding war with, and the more teams that come on board, that's obviously going to be, that's going to make it harder. So
that comment by Raul there is perfect. I think. I think all I remember is a sting with the Royals, especially. Picked up the wrong Lions receiver, sadly, but yeah, it was just.
Well, the main thing is we're not giving up any draft capital for it. So from that point of view, it's a fairly good deal no matter what. But anytime you're adding somebody of this value, is he going to be a progress stopper for somebody that you do have? Obviously Jalen Tolbert's having a tough time converting to the NFL from college game, but who's to say it doesn't suddenly click for him in OTAs next year, and then you've got another weapon, and then we've got the whole Noah Brown thing. You've got you do have potential on this team, so I think until he signs on the dotted line, I mean, it's great to think about what you can get, but let's deal with it.
I mean, like you said it, Lorne, that if you get into a bidding war, then it's going to be a case of forget it, because like the Cowboys, they're not even going to, if there's a number of teams bidding for him, you can guarantee Cowboys aren't even going to be second highest, because they're just not. They just don't. When it comes to free agency, they just hold back. They hold back a lot, which is why they miss on players. But that's just their style. That's how they are.
And I know it's a little different, but I think maybe another reason for being in the sweepstakes for this is because Jerry's still all those years ago after getting burned by not selecting Randy Moss in the draft. And he's such a dynamic receiver. I know Beckham's had the injuries, but he's essentially still a dynamic receiver. And when it's not often that guys like this come up on the market, so it's like, well, we made that mistake once. Do we do it again?
Yeah, I think the main thing that you can say is that it's not just the players that are trying to recruit him. Jerry is speaking to his agents and speaking to OBJ as well. So it's not a case of we like our guys and we're not going to do anything. We are trying this. So from a fan perspective, you're seeing that Jerry's not just sitting there going, oh yeah, let's stick with the 53 we've got. This 365 days a year 24 hours a day talent evaluation that Stephen Jones always goes on about. This is proof that we are looking at bringing in a big name. And, obviously it's 26 years since the last time we won a Super Bowl. And we've missed out on people that, because, maybe they would have tipped us over the edge and, we would have gone back or whatever. Could this be the missing piece? But as you say, you don't want to mortgage your future on bringing somebody in that could quite. I mean, I could see them trying to put some clause in very similar to, who was it? Defensive tackle that had the ruptured tendon.
Yes.
Ripper.
No,
not Poe.
I can see him now. Played for the Panthers.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
How am I forgetting his name? But yeah, you're right. And he got injured before we got Chan, so it was like it was game over. His name was on the tip of my tongue. You what?
Wasn't it the Joe McCoy deal?
Yes, Joe McCoy.
Yes, that's it.
It was. Yeah, damn it. See, usually I'm quite good with that. I'm tired, mind. I'm proper flummoxed. But yes, going off though, the other part, CD Lamb. While we're talking this, he lately is on fire, and I did a post as well that CD Lamb at the moment in the NFC East is the most productive wide receiver right now. He's actually 5th in the league in receiving yards.
Yeah.
If you could believe it. But, because a lot of people at the start of the season were saying, look, we like CD Lamb. He's good. We're glad he's here. He's a first-round talent. But is he a wide receiver one? And there was a lot of talk, and people are saying things like, yeah, he's sort of a fringe guy. He's the lower end sort of wide receiver one. At the moment, he's silencing that. And it's not like he's having huge games. Like, he's had a couple of games now this season where he's gone over 100 yards. But it's just constant. He's constantly chipping away. Like, that's what you want, especially though on this offense, when you think of the weapons that Dak has and the distribution that he does, because he does throw it around a lot. He doesn't just target one guy. CD Lamb's still coming out on top like that. I mean, that's pretty impressive. And he's right, DJ Dog is second in the NFC, only behind Justin Jefferson. It's impressive.
Yep.
Only Justin Jefferson's got more, but Justin Jefferson's absolutely flying.
When you say that, I saw a stat, I think, back in the last week, and I know everyone kind of, we let Mari Cooper go, but if you actually look at all the stats now, I think it's, pretty much he's outplaying, oh God, my mind's gone completely back now. He's completely outplaying Amari Cooper, so I think he's played that he's put it to bed on it. And look at Mike. Is Mike out in the States this weekend for this game? I keep forgetting he's there.
Oh, no. He is. No, he's with Paul this week, yeah.
Is he there? I couldn't remember if he was back and going out, if he was going out for the game the week after. But I mean, I was laughing with him the other week, saying, I love Mike. He's got the most understanding wife on this planet. I think when I went out in 2016, he told me then it was his last trip. He managed to, and then he's been every year. Then this year he's managed to buy season tickets. And I'm like, what?
Do you remember when we were online with him during COVID? And he's like, I'm going to get some playoff tickets. And we were like, ooh.
Oh, he said Black Friday. Yeah, Black Friday. And he's flying out next Sunday, no doubt.
Nice.
So he's back. He's flying out, wait. I was reading that he's back and he's flying out tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Back until Friday.
Game.
Wow. Right. Okay. But yeah, I mean that. So there's that. The only other thing I wanted to touch on is talking about the offensive line, because we said about Tyron Smith coming back fairly soon. They did say December, mind you, when he come back, so he's coming on strong. When we see what they're doing next Friday, what we've seen them doing, Jason Peters going in, sliding Tyler Smith across. I think that this is going to be very formidable when you see this, because the right-hand side of the line, as we keep talking, we've been saying it, from very early in the season, the right-hand side of the line has been very strong, especially run defense. Zach Martin, Terrence Steele together on those combo blocks on the right is like insanely effective. Yes, he is DJ Dog. And
He's landed
the
20
left.
minutes ago, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I
landed.
forgot you were on Stalker Watch, weren't you, Lorne?
Yeah.
But but the left-hand side of the line, when you think as well that this is going to be going into the playoffs, when you really, really need a top-tier left tackle, and we get Tyron Smith, who's pretty much been chilling out for like most of the season, and it's not the talent with Tyron Smith, it's the health, and we're getting him at a time when you're really going to need a guy like Tyron Smith. But what is even better, like the double-edged sword there, is getting Tyler Smith to move inside. What do you guys think about this offensive line? Bear in mind, they've given up the least sacks in the NFL right now. This offensive line as it is without Tyler Smith.
If Tyler Smith didn't have the injury history that he had, I think we'd all be sat jumping up and down.
Yeah.
And you know what, Mike taking the words right out of my mouth. And as much as he's even still now, he's still one of the best left backers in the league. But why change it? Working at the minute. And we had this conversation a few weeks ago with Dak, when Dak was out injured and Cooper Rush was winning games. And it's like, yeah, generally you'd throw Tyron Smith back in there, but
you got to.
We're playing well.
Yeah.
I mean,
go on, Lon.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, obviously, there is a case for having your 5 best offensive linemen out on the field. The question is, are they the 5 best offensive linemen when they're in the position that you put them in? So is obviously in training camp, Tyler Smith wasn't necessarily going to be out Connor McGovern for the left guard spot. And then we were all going, oh, how's he going to handle being a tackle if he was going to be a backup guard? Well, he handled being a tackle. Can he make the move inside, and can he be just as effective on the left-hand side at the guard position where everything comes on you a lot faster? Fair enough, you've not got space on the outside of you, but everything's because it's you're almost face up on the guys and all that. It
and
happens
as
a
well,
lot
Lorne,
faster
that most teams, when they construct their defense, it's on that left-hand side of the line where they're strongest.
Yep.
So you're right there. I just think that personally, a guy like Tyron Smith, he's a different breed. He is the crown jewel of that offensive line. He is, and you put him back. If it goes wrong, then he becomes your swing tackle, and you revert back. But bear in mind, do you guys feel confident going into the playoffs with Connor McGovern in there, who lately has been okay? He's done his job and filled in great. But also, B, having Tyler Smith as your left tackle, and he's given up the most pressures on this team so far.
I think, just with how good this team is playing overall. Like you say, you've got a healthy Tyron Smith that you can chuck back in there if it goes belly up. But again, as good as he is, does it upset the apple cart that now this front 5 are playing more minutes, more snaps together? Do you break that up?
Continuity.
And that's what you need going into the playoff story. That you need that. And then, do you really want to snap that and put Tyron Smith in for a few games, and then he goes out and he gets injured again?
I think
it's kind of one of the things. It's damned if you do and damned if you don't. So it's like,
I just think with a guy like Tyron Smith, you can't not put him in. He's too much high of a talent. He's got to go in there. If you got to, and the way he's played, and you could argue that Tyron Smith is going to one day be a future Hall of Famer, possibly. Like, you can't bench that guy. He's deserved that right. He's deserved to be given that chance first to prove he can fail. He's there. He does. There we go. And we know where we're at.
Would it be disrespectful to throw him on at right side?
Yes.
I'm just putting it out there to see what you thought.
Nah, no way. He's left.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Terence Steele has been doing a job this year.
Yeah.
He's one of the highest rated right tackles for run blocking. Yeah, he's a bit limited with his pass protection as well. But again, you're asking, as we were talking about last season, asking Terence Steele when he switched from right to left because Tyron was out and Lyell came back. There was a whole kerfuffle with that. And there's no guarantee that Tyler will be able to switch to the right hand side either. So it's best keeping him on the same side. See how he gets on going into the left guard spot. And yeah, I mean, you have to say Tyron Smith. I mean, yeah, he's not been on the field a lot for us the last 4 or 5 years, but when he has been on the field, he has been one of the mainstays of that offensive line. And there's nothing to suggest that that's not going to change either this year either. So
definitely, and you talk about Terence Steele with his issues over there. The good thing is Dak Prescott getting to the flat and his mobility has got better these last few weeks. And when that's your open side, not your blind side, if Romo used to say, don't hold on the right hand side because I can see the guy coming. That's exactly what Dak is doing. He can see that guy coming, so he knows how to avoid him. So I think that's why Terence Steele it's not a complete breakdown if things go wrong. But I do like to disagree. Disagreeing is good. It's the only way you ever find out different ideas. But should we move to the defense, guys?
Yeah.
Let's rock and roll.
Let's go.
We'll start this off with Micah Parsons. Okay, the floor is open. Go.
Best defensive player in the NFL. And it's not even close.
MVP award coming, do you think?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Certainly DPOY, but he's, the NFL is posting the short list at the moment for, and as usual, they're missing out defensive players.
Yeah.
You have to say, I mean, Micah Parsons is doing things that, you have to almost go back to the likes of Reggie White, LT. He's doing that sort of thing, and he's even when teams are actually scheming against him to neutralize him, it's making other players better. I mean, Dorrance Armstrong is second on the team in sacks, 8 sacks. He's got numerous forced fumbles, fumble recoveries as well. You're getting production across the board from just about everybody. I mean, between Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler, you got 13 sacks or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that we're leading the league by in sacks by about, I think it's 10 over the next team defense or something like that. So
yeah.
You just it starts with Micah Parsons, and as long as Micah Parsons is out there, he's a force to be reckoned with. And I would certainly be making a case for him to be the MVP of the league. But I think realistically, you're always going to it's always going to go to an offensive player unless Parsons has a 4 or 5 sack game coming up, which is, again against this offensive line that we're going up against this week, there are question marks with the tackles.
Very much.
So play him on the edge, and let him off the leash.
And bear in mind, right, that a lot of people talk about. You remember there always used to be this conversation in years past. It was like Zach Martin is one of the best guards in the NFL. The argument people would make is Quentin Nelson. Well, lately he's been getting beat quite handedly.
Yep.
A lot, like giving up a lot of pressures in the middle. And here's the issue, like you said, Lon, is that their tackles are just like these filling guys that they've just thrown in and hope for the best. And it is a bit of a weird muddle up with our offensive line that, like, they seem to, when they were with Reich, that it was kind of starting to get put together, like the pieces were coming together. And then it just kind of stopped.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. But, like, you know, because, like, we always remember when it was the Andrew Luck era, the big thing was always he's got no offensive line. You know, he's getting completely blown to pieces. Then they started to build the offensive line, and then they got to a certain stage and they just didn't bother anymore. And that's where they're at now. And it's weird because, like, you want to really, okay, I get it. You know, Quentin Nelson was on the ball when you got there. You can't. You need offensive linemen. Let's go there. But now go sort your tackles out. The most important as well, left tackle. Go sort that out. So, yes, you're quite right. I think as well, Matt Ryan is one of the most sacks quarterback in the league. And I think they're second, I believe. Pressures allowed. Going off the top of my head, I can't quite remember. Something like that. But, yeah, they're up there. So they are going to have headaches this week and it always seems to be a different guy. Like you said, you know, you got Dante Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong last week. Sam Williams will come in another week. DeMarcus Lawrence will be another week. And it always seems to be a different guy has that big game. And I think that's the best part is, yeah, we can talk about Micah Parsons and say, look, this guy, he's absolutely flying. He's phenomenal at the moment. Yes. But on the backside of that, the other guy who you need to get sacks seems to be this collection, this pool of people who each week is somebody else. So how do you who's going to be the guy this week? And it's impossible for offensive coordinators to key it because they're going, stop Micah Parsons. Like, okay, so who's the next guy we need to stop? And it's like, don't know who's going to be.
Yeah, I think that's what puts us giving other teams big headaches because the one guy on that front four that probably should be getting talked about more than he has been is obviously DeMarcus Lawrence, and it's just because the other guys are stepping up. I'm not saying that he isn't, because he's causing problems with allowing these guys to get through the line. But I can't remember the last time we talked about Cowboys front four or front three, depending on how you want to look at it, where so many are getting talked about. It's just like you used to talk about it in a different way, but like, oh, this guy's not stepping up, this guy's not stepping up, this guy's not stepping up, and now it's like, well, this guy's stepping up, this guy's stepping up, this guy, and like I think also it's showing it with how many sacks we are, how many QB pressures we're getting, how many hits on the QB we're getting, and it's just it's great to watch. I think it's just let's hope this continues because, like you say, you can never have too many pass rushers, and we've got potential in one that's just never really had his potential unlocked. I don't think since he come into the NFL. In Pat McKinley, so there's another one that could come in there that could potentially create a crap out of havoc as we get to business end of season.
Well, for me, Tack McKinley is more of a move on the run defense. He's a run stopper.
Yeah.
He's that type of guy. But you know, but there's a good example that, you know, we're talking about that we're going to get Tack McKinley possibly coming up. We could play a little bit with, because he's still got eligibility with a practice squad, so we can move him up. That's why I don't think they're going to move him straight away, because you can bring him up from the practice squad if you want, cover yourself if he's good enough. You could do a little bit of dancing with that at the moment. But like, there's a good example of how well this defensive line is playing. That we're going to get this guy in who's an first round guy, very much a Dan Quinn type guy. Do you know what I mean? is just like an embarrassment of riches there that we could cut Tyrell Basham, who will be like on most teams one of their main defensive ends. That's what's so crazy about it. But we'll stick with the linebacker area. Talk about LVE and Damone Clark, guys. Damone Clark playing the off-ball linebacker position at a time when we didn't think he would. And I would say, you're not going to be like at the moment, because he is rookie with the injury and all the rest of it coming off, that it's not blown out. You're like, oh my God, he's this phenomenal, blue chip player. But he's not doing anything wrong. He's just doing exactly his job. What do you guys think on Damone Clark?
I have to agree. I mean, we've had 40 snap games off him this year so far. And, obviously when we drafted him, there was potential that you were talking about him being a redshirt year and everything. So you weren't expecting this production anyway.
Yeah.
But he is proving that had the neck injury not been diagnosed in the scouting combine, this guy should have been going first or maybe second round of the draft. And yeah, he's not stood out head and shoulders above everybody else, but he's getting himself, and he's getting there. He's making the tackles. He's LVE and him last week, I think, were leading the team in tackles. He had 7. LVE, he had something like 10 or something like that.
Yeah, so I think it was 9 or 10.
Between the two of them, they're actually developing themselves as a quite a productive tandem. And
and it's impressive as well, Lord, to see them both coming downhill to make the tackles, hitting the gaps.
Yes. Yeah. And there's a reason why the run defense looked a lot better last week, and you were able to take away somebody like Barkley. Can we do it again this week against Jonathan Taylor? There's
the question.
Jonathan Taylor's a different back. Jonathan Taylor's a bit like
straight line runner, right down the middle.
Yeah, Marion Barber, that sort of thing.
He's not going to bounce to the outside.
No, he'll run through you more than show agility or anything like that.
Yeah.
But he is suffering this year from injury. He spent a bit of time on IR. And then he's not. He had a good game 2 weeks ago, and then last week, he was held to something like only 40 yards or something. So it's a bit stop start with him. But I think this defense can hold him as well this week, and especially if we get that same sort of play. Question is and obviously you brought this one up. If Anthony Barr's coming back, which he's been limited the last 2 days in practice. I've just seen the practice report. He's still limited today.
Yeah.
Does he take snaps away? And I think he's been hot and cold this year as well. We've not got what we thought we were getting out of him. So do you stick with the rookie who will make rookie mistakes, or the seasoned veteran who should be able to come in and be sturdy against the run as well? So
yeah, I mean, I let you answer on the Damone Clark situation, Jay, because all I will say is Damone Clark right now is filling the Jabril Cox role. That's what I would say.
I was just going to say, just because of the production we got out of him, on the fact that we probably weren't supposed to see him this year.
Could
you elevate that to say that he was then potentially the steal of the draft?
Yeah.
Just based on the whole story of the injury, not supposed to see the field. He looked like a season in spurts in his first game back. Looked like a seasoned veteran, like he'd not lost it. I mean, like it was just. If you had the Anthony Barr middle of his Vikings career, then you would probably go, you'd probably put him back in. But don't think we've seen enough out of Barr that would probably warrant, for me anyway, warrant in getting more snaps in Damon. I just think it's a little bit hard thing in it where I think you would kind of run with a hot hand a little bit, and I think as Michael alluded to earlier, don't kind of fix what ain't broken, change it if it's needed to. But I just, especially like I say, we get inconsistency both sides of the ball, and it's rare that the Cowboys have a consistency both sides of the ball at the same time. It's always offenses carrying the defense or the other way around. So I think keep it as it is and change it if it needs changing. Don't tinker. It's too late in the season now to tinker. You tinker if you're on a losing record and you're trying to work out your draft board and where you really need to be strengthening for next year. But now it's all about let's keep on a roll, because barring a miracle, we're going to be in the playoffs. So yeah, don't screw with it. Not to put down on it, it's a typical Cowboys thing, which we'll probably end up doing. But let's just hope someone's got a ruler and telling people, you change things, we're going to put your hand over a table and we're going to give it a good whacking.
Yeah. And I mean, they're going to have to do something with the run, because the issue they got is I just checked, the Colts are being sacked the most. 43 sacks on the season, which is just crazy. And they're up against a team that sacks the most. So, and Matt Ryan looks burnt out. He has looked burnt out for the last sort of 2 years. So it's hard to watch. He's not reading the defense like he used to. He's lost his mobility. He didn't have much to begin with anyway. He had a little bit. And now, you know, the reason that you see Matt Ryan getting sacked so much is that he's waiting for his guys to make their break. And they're just taking so long to break into their routes that he's just getting sacked. And because he hasn't got much escapability to get away from it, and that he's not reading the defense well, so he's running into the pass rush. He just looks fried. He looks burnt out. Like the guy's done.
I know it's kind of going off the ball, but just when you mentioned, just when you bring Matt Ryan up, does anybody think this is kind of the strangest quarterback year we've seen for a long time? I mean, in the league in general, if you look at it, no disrespect to the guys, but like Geno Smith, pretty much out of the league for a while and he's absolutely balling, giving the Seahawks a headache for next year because does that mean they have to pay him and bring him back? Russell Wilson, that's regarded in what we've seen. If you look at it, anybody that was at Wembley for the final game, he was. I don't think he played pretty well. Zach Wilson, you could pretty much say on the verge of being ousted in New York after 2 seasons. Tom Brady's not played at a high level that everyone thought he was going to play. Steelers are struggling at quarterback with their QB. It's a crazy old time for quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, you're potentially seeing the Jordan Love era starting in Green Bay as well. I mean, obviously, Aaron Rodgers is saying that unless his oblique that knocked him out of the last game, unless that's holding him back, he's going to play this weekend. You know, he sees that, he's almost taken on the Brett Favre aspect of, 10, 15 years ago when Aaron Rodgers came into the league, and Brett Favre was saying, I'm not giving up my job and all this sort of stuff. So, but yeah, it's been a crazy season in terms of the QBs that were all established QBs seem to have just dropped off a ledge this year.
Yeah.
It's funny you should say that, because before we came on air, I was watching a little bit of Pro Football Talk, and they were saying how kind of he sits there at an absolute dog game against the Titans, blaming his injured thumb. They're sat there saying you can't have it one way one week and the other way the week after, because the week before he played the Cowboys and he had the same thumb injury and he was dropping dimes all over the place. And
Yep.
is he protecting his legacy? Like they were saying on Pro Football Talk, he can sit there and go, well, yeah, I stay in Green Bay. If they didn't put a team around me, rather than try to ruin his legacy of what he's got and going to another team and potentially not winning again. It's just, I can't remember. There's much controversy on that. In that one position, God knows how many years.
Yeah, it's true. And then you look at what's going on with Kyler Murray too. Whatever's
Harry
going on.
Mike White, all of them.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think the defense, in terms of defensive backs, Trayvon Diggs has got enough in him to stop Michael Pittman. I know he's big. He's a big, tall guy, like 6'4", 6'5", just towering wide receiver. But I think Diggs will do enough to keep him at bay. Anthony Brown, I know he's having a bit of a bad time right now. But yes, see you later, Mike. Leave you to debate the question. One or done or a little. Yeah, all away, mate. All away. It's going all away.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know they've got Paris Campbell as well as the other guy, so he's a bit of a speedster. But in terms of speedsters, when you think what they've got there in terms of safeties, there's enough to keep that down. And their tight ends, their tight end room, depending if Jelani Woods plays, because I know he's limited at the moment, they could be a sneaky. They could be quite sneaky in terms of group. We're talking about the Cowboys tight end group being so good. They can be a little sneaky too. But let's do this then, guys. It's final prediction time. So what's your final score? I handed mine in earlier for the Blonde Boys staff because they ask for it every week. I said the Cowboys are going to win 31-10. Yes, mostly for two reasons. They're second to last in turnover differential. They're on -10. And they don't score a lot of points. And they don't make very big plays. Their ADOT is last.
Yep.
It's not bad. They just don't make big plays. And this is a type of game where you need to have big chunk plays. And they're the worst at it. But give it to me then, Lon. What's your score prediction?
Well, I think the Colts so far this season have only managed to get over 20 points. I think it's 2 games this year.
Mm.
So I certainly don't see them getting over that. Now, when I've gone blowouts before, we've been a lot closer. So I think the line in Vegas at the moment is 11 points, and I think I'm going just slightly over that. I'm going 28-10.
Oh, okay. So we're not that far off. I've just got the added Brett Money Maha cherry on the top there. Okay, so we're not that far away. The score's coming in. I mean, I know Joey always goes big. Go big or go home, as they say. But the score's coming through fairly close. But what's yours, Jay? What's your score prediction for this week?
I'm a little bit around where you are. I'm going to go 31-17 to the Cowboys. I think that, like I say, the Colts don't put up huge numbers. Our defense is playing well and don't generally go for a lot of touchdowns. And our offense is going to keep rolling. The close up towards the middle of the second quarter, then I think the Cowboys start pulling away with it then.
I like it. All right, then. Yes, so keep them score predictions coming in, guys. And we will move on to the final segment, the fantasy round, and then we'll wrap the show up. Let's do this, baby. All right, do you want the scores first? We usually always start with the scores, the dreaded scores.
Let me guess, Heckma's got 0.
Yes, he has not moved. But here we are. Here it is. The gap is being closed. Paul's gone down. Lorne's gone up. Jamie stayed the same. Rich has gone up a little bit. So, and Heckma stayed with
you know what? Can I just ask? can we just the ticker at the bottom? Can we amend that just a little bit? Because I got a bit of a giddy on it, thinking me and Lorne were second, and then all of a sudden Nixie's Scotland at the end, and I'm like,
okay. So if you notice, it finishes with Rich there. Then it's the people who have done it who are guests, so they're external.
Yeah,
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about them.
We'll take second and long, yeah.
Yep.
They're just they're the appendices to this fantasy score. So don't worry.
Do you know what we need to do?
Yes.
We need to message Paul, and we need to get him to hunt out ECMA and take him a wooden spoon for obviously being bottom of the fantasy.
Yeah. I'm not sure if he's talking to you at the moment.
I've actually just messaged Hickma and he's come back. I've told him that if we do lose this weekend, he's going to get Paul and he's going to take Paul straight to the airport and send him back. So
I think he'd be happy to as well with the amount of losses he watched last year. But all right then, let's get into this easy game. Just higher or lower, over under, whichever way you want to do it. You know, however we used to do it before. Look how knackered I am. I'm mumbling. It's like literally 4 a.m. start. So much to do. But let's kick this off then, right, guys? Dak Prescott, 20.7 fantasy points. Hit me with it, Lorne. Over or under? Or you can post.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna push on that one because I think this is a game where we're gonna rely on the running game.
Yep, definitely.
Especially down the middle because they're missing. I think it's Shaquille Leonard, who's their middle linebacker. He's on injured reserve at the moment. If he was playing, I mean that this run defense that they actually have when it's working. Guys like Yannick Ngakoue, DeForest Buckner, and what have you. You know, these guys can be strong, but you know
they seem to be more concerned with the pass rush this year, don't they?
Yeah, and they're missing that middle linebacker. So
definitely,
I think it's going to be a day for Zeke, to be honest.
I like it.
So I'll take it as a push. This one.
All right then, Jamie.
Yeah, I'm going to go with same as Lorne. I just think we're seeing Zeke because you get back to the Zeke that we know. The Titans are getting quite a bit more ball. I think it's probably around about right there because more for the run game. Just like I said, we slow these guys down. They seem to struggle quite a bit with the run, so pick your poison.
Yep.
Yeah, they're susceptible to it. They concentrate so much on the pass rush. They're a little Cowboys-esque in that way. But let's do Tony Pollard. He's the highest fantasy score prediction for the running backs out of the Cowboys. 11.1 fantasy points.
Higher.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go higher as well. I think we will get the ball to the outside as well. So
definitely, it's going to be. I think because they're missing as well a corner that's out with a shin injury. So run Pollard on the outside and go for it. So that's going to be the way forward.
Just to add on that, Pollard on the ground goes more than 110 this week.
Yes, I like that.
Right.
All right, then. CD Lamb, 17.2 fantasy points. And I get kind of where they're trying to get here, that they think that they can isolate him. Bear in mind, they've got Stephon Gilmore, who's playing quite well at the moment. Hasn't allowed a touchdown on the season.
Yep. The asterisk for this is whether Michael Gallup comes back from having the illness that he's got at the moment and is able to play in this game. I think if Michael Gallup's in, then Michael Gallup obviously takes a little bit of the pressure off CD. I think I'm gonna split on this one. I think.
Okie dokie, Jamie.
Yeah, I'm going to split just because I have Pollard going higher, and probably. Maybe not one of the guys who's coming up on the things we've done, but maybe one of the rookie Titans will probably get a little bit more ball. So they'll take a couple of the points as well.
I think, like, in terms of passing yards allowed per game, I think the Colts rank 5th, if I'm right. So they are pretty good in that way. But it's a little bit yin and yang, like with the Cowboys, that they've got a very effective pass rush, and the defensive backs are doing enough to just control their side of the job, which is a little bit like that. But Dalton Schultz, this is an interesting one. 10.9 fantasy points makes him a top 5 tight end fantasy player this week.
You know, I've blagged him all year, so I think he's going to get more.
Yeah,
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt this week.
Ooh. Two touchdown game last week too.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going to go higher. I mean, that's what, 40 yards, a couple of catches, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go higher on that one.
Yeah, it's point per reception too. So yeah. And I think that they'll try and shut CD down over that side. They'll bracket, do a little bit of cover 2, little bit of shell as well, which means obviously middle of the field can get wide open, get attacked, which opens Dalton Schultz up a bit. So quite a good one there. Here's a funny one for you, especially when we go the other side, which is confusing. Defense, 7.1 fantasy points. They are the number 3 ranked fantasy defense this week.
Have to go higher. I think, sacks. I'm sure we'll get turnovers off the back of that as well. I mean, Matty Ice will throw the ball up there, and it's there for the taking.
Yeah, a couple of tip balls in there and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm on with that. Like you say, this Cowboys defense gets sacks galore on it, and there's going to be a point. There's going to be a point in the season where the Cowboys defensive backs are going to come away with multiple interceptions, and this is likely to be that game, just with how erratic we know Matt Ryan has been lately. So that's a little bit harsh for the defense coming in to score on that ball.
I just think, I'm with Lorne, that I think that, they're going to be a low scoring game for them, like 10 points, but it's going to be the sacks. The sacks will mitigate that, and maybe one of the sacks turns into a fumble. So then that's more points again. But yeah, that's how I see it going as well. All right. Matt Ryan, 14.2 fantasy points. He's one of the lowest fantasy rated quarterbacks this week.
Mate, I've got him in 2 of my fantasy teams as backup, and he's been gashed this year. There's no way he gets 14 points this week.
Yeah, I'm going lower on that one. I just, unless he's the second coming of Aaron Rodgers, that we've seen this year, that he suddenly clicks for one game and one game only.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. It's going to go lower.
I would say so. I had him in a dynasty. The one that we're in, the dynasty league. And I just got him this year. I was like, yeah, you're done. Clearly, you're done. Burnt out. That's the end of it. All right, Jonathan Taylor, then, who's a bright side for this offense, if you want to call it that. 16.4 fantasy points.
Lower. Not a chance. He's still a top 5 running back for me, but I just think this defense is too good.
Yeah, I think, the job that we did on Saquon Barkley, I think that shows that we are capable of stopping the run.
Yeah.
I think, and I was doing it without guys like Hankins in the middle last week, who was, because he was off with a sickness bug. I think, we're going to need to block that middle, because, as I say, he's a downhill runner.
Yeah.
But I think
straight up the gut.
Yeah, I think we're going to keep him. I think we're going to keep him under control, and if they are going to run, it'll be one of the backups that we're not ready for. But I'll go lower on that one.
Alrighty, I like it. All right then, Michael Pittman, 14.5 fantasy points. His season's been a little erratic, up and down all over the place. 100-yard games followed by a dud.
I think lower, but not by much.
Do you want to push then?
No, I won't push it. Just for the facts.
You think it'll be more than a point he gets lower by?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you're probably looking at about maybe 11.5.
Okay.
But not.
Yeah, point with PPR and all of that. Yeah. Lornius Maximus.
I'm gonna go lower as well. Again with the asterisk that Diggs is out at the moment with illness. But yeah, if Diggs is on him, he shuts him down.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Tight end. So I'm trying to remember his first name, but Granson. This is bearing in mind that they're predicting that Jelani Woods plays this week, so it's going to be split shifts for the tight ends. He is up for 4.2 fantasy points. Which, to be honest with you, for the tight end is not a bad score.
Yeah, yep.
Just about right.
Yeah,
it's a couple of catches for 2 first downs.
Yeah. It's slightly more than obviously the Giants tight end last weekend. So
I'll go split. Like I said, if it's essentially 2 first down catches, is he going to get 20 yards? Probably not.
Add the PPR.
Yeah, split it.
Yeah,
I'm going to go higher, but just ever so slightly higher than even. So I think he's going to be about 6 maybe. So
alrighty. Then the Colts defense, 6 fantasy points.
Lower.
Yeah.
I would too. I'm with you there. Well, as soon as I seen that, I was just like, yeah, that's going to be lower. They're minus 10 in turnover differential, so they're not getting turnovers. They're like second to last. In sacks they're quite high. But it's just the rest of it is falling apart for them, and points allowed and all the rest of it. But there we go. There is that. And that is this week's show. So we will do the old paying of the bills. Did the Giants tight end go over last week? I can't remember. I've thrown that bit of paper away. I think he did, actually.
Yeah. Well, he had one.
Yeah, I think he did.
He had one catch for 10. He had one catch for 10 yards. I think it was. So
it was like he just went over because I think his score was like 2 points. So he just slightly went over, which was funny. But here we are then. One for Lorne. You go for it.
Right. Well, as you know, Paul's across in Dallas at the moment. He's hooking up with these guys from Cowboys Experience.
Yes.
If you were watching last week's show as well, we obviously had the craziness of the Thanksgiving show as well. So if you're going across to a game, make sure you book up with these guys, Cowboys Experience, for the ultimate meet and greet, stadium tours, game tickets, tailgating, much, much more. Get to meet up with guys like Ed Too Jones, Sam Williams, Micah Parsons, Zach Martin, Drew Pearson, Jay Novacek, and obviously these guys will treat you great anyway, but if you mention that you come from UK Cowboys, you'll be treated like absolute royalty. Mm-hmm. And if you use the code UK Cowboys, what do you get?
Lots and lots of free stuff.
Chocolate pudding. Got to get Barry fan chocolate pudding out.
It is with it, Jay.
Yeah, 2023, we've said all along, it's something that the group hasn't done. So we have combined with our good friends and the sponsor of the podcast, Cowboys Experience, to put together a travel package for the UK Massive and anybody from around Europe that wants to join us to go watch the Cowboys. In 2023, we promise that we won't be Jonas and we'll staple the flag to Mike's rear end so he takes it out with him.
I would be taking it, don't you worry.
But yeah, if you're interested, just drop us a message on one of our social media outlets, and then once the schedule comes out, we will hit everybody up with the game it's going to be and the details. But there's absolutely tons and tons planned already. We're just now waiting for the schedule. So sure to come and join us, and we'll have a great laugh out there.
And what's funny is every time we talk about this, Jay, we end up adding more plans to this.
We're going to need 6 months out there and rate Mike keeps having stuff on. You know what I mean?
And of course, guys, make sure to go follow all the other content creators. You know, most of these guys, Talking Cowboys, Hang with the Boys, obviously 105 The Fan and The Break are the main ones. Draft Show, that'll be coming next year. You got J Tuck, Big Game James, Steel, Pick Six, good guys over there. Cam Fan as well, who's going to be coming on the show soon. And of course, there's Blogging the Boys, where you will find Paul's podcast and my articles as well. So that's all the other guys you need to see. Now, make sure you join, because there is a series of special guests coming on as of from Tuesday. So make sure you join in. We will give it away on not who it is, but what they are. We have a series of Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders coming on the show. So make sure you join us. You'll have their questions. They'll be giving us their opinions on the team, the game, the win, the loss, whoever it is. They will be over on the next few weeks. It's our Christmas present to you.
Yeah, and funnily enough, you'll see guys like Rich and Graham come out of the woodwork for that one as well.
Yeah, they'll suddenly be available. Yeah.
We've been doing what we've been doing.
How many have we got in total confirmed now, Jay?
We've got 2 at the minute.
But another 3 or 4 lined up.
There's a few, yeah, and I just can't believe we've been doing this podcast for how long? 4 years, and we have had everybody who's anybody from front office to all the media staff to current and former players, and we've never had a DCC on, and we finally get one.
So that was basically 9 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Central. Get your questions in for them all. But apart from that, enjoy the weekend. It's cold here. It's cold here wherever you are. Make sure you stay warm and safe. But these guys, as always, because I ramble so much, have the last word. Stay safe, guys. Stay good out there, Yukis, and we'll see you after the weekend. Take it away, fellas.
Yeah, stay safe. Get some sleep. It's a late one, Monday morning. See you all. Go Cowboys.
Yep. Let's go, guys. Let's brand these Colts and come back with a win.